Stay in attack formation.
Hello everyone, and man has it been a busy week. The same day I planned to go live with my channel, all the hands-on previews from the EA Game Changers and Game Journalists websites became available. On top of that, I was in the middle of my article compiler video, which put me into overdrive, combing through what I could and organized it all, presenting this video to you, the viewers. But before we get into anything further, I'd like to give a big shout out to a couple of other YouTubers that allowed me to use their footage for this video, as they got the chance to participate in the EA Game Changers hands-on of Star Wars Squadrons. Massive thank you to EckhartsLadder and SammyBoiii. Their channel links will be in the description below. Go subscribe to them right now. I'll quiz you at the end to make sure you did, so go do it. Now let's get to the new content that's available for us to see. First, to clarify what everyone was able to play, it was the prologue of the campaign, practice mode in the debris fields of Sassubo, dogfighting around the space station within the icy rings of vessels, fleet battle tutorial on Yavin Prime, and fleet battle in the Nadiri dockyards. No footage was shared of the prologue of the campaign by anyone that posted YouTube videos of their gameplay, as it was not allowed by EA. It makes total sense, as they don't want to spoil any of the campaign. The practice mode on Sassubo is used to help hone your skills as a pilot. In there, you can fly through obstacle courses or spawn in AI-controlled starfighters and larger ships to practice defeating. This was detailed in other YouTube channels such as Battlefront Updates and Star Wars Explained, as footage was not available to myself to show. I expect in the full game you'll be able to choose any map to fly in for this practice mode. The dogfight mode that took place on the Essel's map was the first PvP mode available to the players. As explained previously by EA Motive, this is the 5v5 team deathmatch mode of Squadrons. The space station in Essel's gave the players plenty of cover and obstacles to weave in, out, and around to either escape or get the jump on their enemies. One new key feature we saw is that the dogfight mode does have locations on the map where repair and resupply pickups are available to the players, so that each squadron doesn't have to rely solely on their support class starfighters to provide them. These are the green spheres with a wrench icon in the middle. Once a ship flies through them, they'll begin to regain health and restock on ammo, while that bubble then goes on a cooldown until it can be picked up again. Dogfight mode, as expected, looks simple but still fun. Likely just a mode to hone your skills against real players instead of AI. It could be a great spot for you and your team to practice communication and responding as a team to threats and enemy targets. I'm not saying this can't be your main mode of choice in Squadrons, there just isn't as much to it as fleet battles. The fleet battle tutorial on Yavin Prime provided players with a breakdown of their objectives, explained the morale system, and put them in a short variety of scenarios against the AI. There are a few of those mechanics that we got to see, which helps explain parts of the fleet battles even further. The morale bar at the top of the screen is the tug-of-war method to determine if the New Republic or Empire moves on to the next phase of the fleet battle. You gain morale by destroying enemy ships where player starfighters are worth more than AI starfighters. Scouting in fleet battles does actually matter for your team as a mechanic in Squadrons and not just a basic strategy. By scouting ahead or when tailing enemies, as long as you're in range, following another player's starfighter makes them visible to your allies. Be careful though, as getting too deep in enemy territory ahead of the phase will see you shot out of the sky very quickly by enemy frigates, cruisers, and the flagship. The ping system is set up to allow yourself or your allies to ping critical targets, including ships and subsystems. When an ally does this, you can confirm their target and make it yours as well. There will be more than just those when you experience the full fleet battle tutorial, as it does go all the way up to taking out a Star Destroyer, but for now, that's what was available from the footage given. Now for the final part of the hands-on experience and our main event, the PvP Fleet Battles mode. The Fleet Battle mode on the Nadiri dockyards was far and away the most displayed footage we saw from the EA Game Changers. It's the flagship mode of Squadrons, pun intended, and just about everyone discussed how much fun they had in it. Throughout all the gameplay, the most common aspect of fleet battles that surprised them was how punishing the AI-controlled corvettes, frigates, cruisers, and especially flagships were to deal with. Not in a negative manner, mind you. It was refreshing to see these ships dish out punishment for those who thought they could just start attacking them without any consequences. And by dish out punishment, I don't mean they did a little more damage to your ship than you expected. No sir or ma'am, they straight up destroyed you if you got careless. Kill feeds throughout these games were filled with players getting killed by these AI large ships. These aren't your mom and pop's large ships to kill from Battlefront 2 where you can just float around them and shoot without evading their shots. You have to make tactical strafing runs and or dodge around that laser fire directed at you. It's not even something that's best to do alone. You want to attack with your team so that not all the fire is concentrated on a single ship that will melt within seconds. As Ian Fraser said in a quote from Polygon, if you fly straight at the capital ship in a straight line, you're not doing any evasive maneuvers, there's a certain amount of damage that we expect you to take, and if you're performing extremely well, you're putting power to engines, you're being evasive, they're much less effective. This type of difference in skill as a pilot is something they've coined as the Porkins to Poe scale. Although for the flagships, not only are you evading laser fire targeting you, but these flagships will also utilize their tractor beams if you get caught flying in the wrong spot to stop you in your tracks and unleash its fire at you. Once again, another reason to not attack these flagships alone and or without a plan. To add icing to the cake, you can't hang out behind these ships too close to their engines trying to stay away from their turrets, as the heat from those engines can melt your ship, dealing hull damage. So that's also not as safe. Now say you do get to attacking the enemy flagship successfully with your team in a coordinated effort. Awesome. We've now seen some interesting new details that beyond destroying the subsystems of the flagship, there are exposed areas of the hull which you can visually see if the flagship has taken enough damage. Hitting those sections of the ship will deal bonus damage to it. I really like this as it adds another layer to correctly targeting the flagship beyond destroying the subsystems. It's even been mentioned that you don't even have to destroy all the subsystems to bring down the enemy flagship. It helps bring it down much faster if they're all down, but you can tactically decide to take out certain ones and then go after the hull. For example, you don't have to take down the shield generators to start doing damage to the hull because your starfighter can actually fly under the shields, which can be done to the frigates, cruisers, and corvettes as well. It just helps to destroy the shield generators or shields on other large ships so that teammates flying in can start shooting early and don't have to try and navigate all the way to fly under the shields to start doing damage. Moving past the flagships, it seems we've got set designations for the frigates, cruisers, and corvettes. The Nebulon B frigate and the Architons light cruisers are the large ships that are part of the second phase of fleet battles to either defend or destroy. The enemy versions can still be a major threat shooting at you in the dogfight phase, along with allied ones providing repair and resupply locations underneath them. The CR-90 Rebel blockade runners and the Raider-class corvettes are spawned at timed or triggered points during fleet battles at any stage. They can be used to help push an advantage you may have on your enemies or destroy opposing corvettes to gain a large chunk on the morale meter and shift closer to another phase in your team's favor. The tactical map available in the in-game menu can show you the status of the fleet battle at hand, showing the phase of the game you're currently in, large ships in the fight, status of enemy flagship subsystems, and where the player ships are flying around at. This will help you make informed, tactical decisions both for yourself and together as a squadron. Finally, it was stated by many of the EA Game Changers and articles published at least the Fleet Battles mode will have a ranked system, to which I assume will also help matchmake players together in a similar ranked bracket. It's unknown if Dogfight mode will also have a ranked system or not. How long these ranked systems are maintained, whether it's for an entire career, or if there will be seasons, we don't know yet for sure. For the actual cockpit, HUD indicators, and controlling your starfighter, we got a few more things clarified from the footage available. Starting with actually flying your starfighter, albeit sometimes unsuccessfully, because there will be times where you collide into other ships, both large and small, and with obstacles. Although in Squadrons, this doesn't instantly kill you. Depending on your angle, speed, and how big the thing is you're running into will determine the amount of damage you take from it, which in the right scenario can still mean instant death, but it's not very common. In terms of controlling your starfighter movements successfully, on the other hand, the throttle has a sweet spot at around the 50% mark of your ship's throttle indicator. This will light up white when at that speed, which allows you to make the tightest turns at that sweet spot. As you increase power to engines, your speed at which you can hit those sweet spots will also increase. We can also see in this section of footage from Eckhart's Ladder, he was able to perform a successful drift in his TIE interceptor while being chased by an enemy ship to turn around and fire back. Very well done, sir. Surprisingly, at least in my opinion, your ship can come to a complete stop at 0, or basically all the way back on the throttle. This will take time for players to get used to, as other games allowed you to pull all the way back on the throttle while still maintaining at a lower speed. But in Squadrons, it actually brings you to a complete stop. You can still turn at that spot and fire, but you are a much easier target for incoming fire from enemy ships. The combat display of your ship, once seen in action, actually shows a solid amount of detail and information about what you have targeted. It shows the targeted ship's orientation to you, its health value, its distance from you, and the status of the front and back shields, if it does have shields. I really like the intuitive design used in the TIE Fighter, Interceptor, and Bomber cockpits showing enemy shields. We did finally get to see some in-game cockpit U-wing footage, and just like in my previous gameplay info video, here is the overlay of where everything is located in its cockpit. As you can see off to the far right, the controls are almost continued, since the U-wing is a ship that can be co-piloted in canon, even though you are the only pilot in Squadrons flying the U-wing. Now for some iconography and things we saw flying around besides ships outside your cockpit we couldn't see before the hands-on previews became available. In this dogfight footage, we can see plenty of repair and resupply circles getting shot out, along with some timing out and then exploding. These are the repair and restock circles provided by the support class ships that only their allies can pick up, not even themselves. On top of that, we see mines of all types being indicated with a type of crosshair around it. When it's white, it's friendly, and when it's red, it's an enemy mine, which can be targeted and shot at. Some of you that have already watched footage around YouTube may have also noticed blue electric circle and triangle icons above ships. That is indicating ion damage, which ion weaponry is in Squadrons in multiple manners. Ion damage can chew through shields much faster at the cost of dealing less hull damage. On top of that, as a starfighter is getting damaged by an ion weapon, such as say an ion primary laser, the blue circle icon will fill up. Once it turns into a blue triangle, that targeted starfighter will be fully ionized and begin to drift off slowly with no control over its systems until they can regain control. It does seem that ion missiles will be a one hit, and the target will be ionized versus lasers that will require you to fill up that circle meter. Finally, we got to see some in-game customization for your pilot and your starfighters. It was stated in a Q&A with Ian Fraser and the EA Game Changers that this is only a portion of the customization available in the full game at launch. We got to see how you can customize your pilot with their head type, including species, helmet, body type being male or female, flight suits, tops including jackets and shirts, bottoms for pants, and nodes up top for gloves, what looks to be emotes, victory stance, and voice. We can also note that some of these have rarity colors on them similar to rarities on skins in Battlefront 2. Being that this is only a portion, it's pretty impressive for a space combat game only in first person. It's not RPG levels of character customization, but more than I expected.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
For customizing starfighters, there were already a solid amount of paint schemes and decal options in this build, many of which were callbacks to Star Wars canon, which myself and many others already appreciate. Definitely excited to see many more. The cockpit customization so far is contained within 3 types of cosmetics, which includes holograms, dashboard, and hanging flare. Holograms are pretty self-explanatory, with your choice of your favorite hologram image. The dashboard contains statues or larger accessories that sit on your ship's dashboard. The hanging flare is generally keychain-like cosmetics of varying sizes depending on what's hanging there. As an example, we saw enough Vader cosmetics to make your cockpit a shrine to the Dark Lord himself. It'll be fun to see what players will put together with their cosmetics post-launch. Let me know in the comments what character or canon piece you'd want to pay homage to with your cosmetics. Overall, the biggest takeaway throughout all of this is that Squadrons, while narrow in its design, being just a Star Wars space combat game, is still very deep, both in skills to fine-tune and master, along with the potential of customization that we've only got to see a portion of. It does a good job of giving players a solid baseline of knowledge given from the cockpit and basic controls to maintain, but the decision-making mechanically using those controls tactically at the right time and the right combination offers many levels of mastery to attain. And that's just you flying the ship, not even considering tactical decision-making in the battlefield yourself and with your teammates to lead to victories. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into all of this and fine-tune myself as a pilot in Squadrons. Keep in mind with all this, EA Motive will be making adjustments to Squadrons as they polish up the game for launch, so everything is still subject to change. As promised, the next couple videos will cover the 6 main locations within Squadrons and take advantage of the newly updated StarWars.com databank entries to go over key story elements within Squadrons. So then, are you subscribed to EckhartsLadder, X2, X second channel for gaming only, and SammyBoiii? I told you I'd quiz you at the end. I hope you passed. Anyway, remember to subscribe and click that bell icon for notifications for this channel as well, for when my videos go live, and I'll see you in the next Squad Up video.